Hi everybody, Mrs. Payer here again from the LMS library, here to show you information about Noodletools. So I wanted to just give you a reminder about how we cite our sources for the Element Instagram project. And I'm pretty sure that you guys have already used Noodletools this year because you did your projects with Mrs. Lesage in regards to controversial issues. But just in case you need a refresher, we're just going to go over Noodletools really quickly. So here I am at the Londonderry Middle School page, and we're going to go to the library and find our Element Instagram project that we're working on. So if we go to class resources and down to Element Instagram, we get to our Mr. Hamilton's project here. And if you have been doing a good job taking your Element Instagram research notes, you will have been, like me, finding some sources over here. So once you have found your sources, you will have to go to Noodletools and open it up. So on our middle school webpage, we have some sample works cited pages. This is a 6th grade introduction. If you'd like to watch it, you certainly can. I want to remind you that when you have a finished works cited page, that the works cited page has a works cited in the center here. It has a hanging indent, and it is in Times New Roman, and the font is 12, and it comes in black ink. So that's just a general reminder. It also should be double spaced, so it all looks accordingly like this, okay? So all of those things should be true about your works cited page. Our works cited page should look similar as well, but here we will be. If you are returning to Noodletools users, you can go right here to watch this video if you don't remember how. In a first-time user tutorial, you can go here. For us as Noodletools users, if you remember, you would go right here up to the waffle and click on it, and then scroll down until you see the icon right here that has a little guy with his hands up in the air. He's blue. It says Noodletools, and click on it. If you've used it before, it will open up to ask you to choose your account. So you click on your londonderry.org account. And then again, this will open up to a light blue page and eventually one that looks like this. So I have had quite a few projects in my Noodletools account because your Noodletools account will follow you all the way through up until you go to high school. So over the course of the last few years, I have created several account projects, as you can see. So we are going to create a new project, and I like to do something like this. The period that you have class, I, last name, first name, and then the element that you have. So in this case, when you click, you click on new project, and you could put your last name, your first name, and your element. So instead of doing that, let's do, I will put payer, comma, Jessica, comma, silicon. We're going to leave it at MLA format because the format we're choosing to use. You may see that you are asked to use a different format later. And we're going to use the junior citation level because you may need to cite a YouTube or some type of a video and that's not in the basic. And we're going to click submit. And once you do that, that's going to open up to a dashboard that looks like this. You may need to use this in high school because it does allow you to collaborate with a student or share to a teacher's inbox, but the middle school here, we do not do that. So we're just going to move right over to what it says at sources. And this is where you start to add the sources that you are using for your project. So here's a new source that we could use. So we want to know, what is it? Is it a database? Is it a website? Is it something physically that you're holding in your hand in print? Could be a magazine, it could be a newspaper, it could be a physical book. Is it something that you viewed like on YouTube or you heard live, maybe a concert? Is it a file, an app, or an ebook? Don't forget I showed you that chemical elements ebook. Or is it something else? So we're going to start with a database and just look at databases. In a database, what kind of thing am I looking at? So let's go back over to the databases and take a peek at one of them. So let's go to resources for research. And let's go to, I'm going to go here to the science one. We're going to look at silicon again. And if you remember, we got quite a few things. So I actually hit advanced search. And I ended up putting in silicon. And then I also put in the word element. And that went and narrowed down my results so that I had more to work with, or less to work with. But it ended up being more because it was more fruitful with the just elements and silicon, and not silicon used everywhere. So let's see that this is down here. We'll click on this one, just silicon. Okay. This is silicon. We have some authors here. This is the Gale Encyclopedia of Science. So we know that this, in this database, that this is a encyclopedia. Okay. If I went back to my results and I clicked on references, any of those references you could click on then when you go to the Noodletools, and you could say they were reference sources. Okay. If you go then back to academic journals, you could pull down academic journals. Magazines, you could pull down magazines. So this gives you some help when you're doing your Noodletools project. Okay, if you don't know what you're doing or what to choose, always can go back up to the top and you can look at what you're seeing or hearing. So let's go to references. Right, so now if I click that, I know any of the ones that are in what I'm looking at are going to be a reference. Okay, so I'm going to choose this article. I'm going to pretend that this is one of the articles that is going to be used for my project. Up at the top here in Gale, you can click Cite. If I look, I can choose any of these formats. I want MLA 8th edition. So all I have to do here then is I can highlight this and hit select. And it will export to any of these places that I want it to. We use Noodletools, so that's where I want it to export to. The page is going to change to show me what it's doing. So it's going to change. It's going to think a little bit. It's going to change. And it says, view import sources. Here is the imported MLA style source. And then here you go. This is what it's going to look like. Now remember, formatting makes it look like it's fancy, right? It has lots of different commas, and it has little parentheses sometimes, it has flashes, it has quotes, and this product gets and puts all those together for you in the right spots. You want to look and see if they look right. In this case, it looks correct. So then when you do that, you make sure that it looks correct by here. So then what I will do is I will look and see, hey, import it. Do I want to import it? If I click this button here, I can see all of the Noodletools projects that I have ever created. So I can put my Noodletools MLA citation into the proper project. So which project do I want to put it in? Well, I want to put it in the Pay Your Jessica Silicon one. So I click on that one, and then I click Import Reference. It's going to do a little bit more thinking, and then you should see a green line on the top that says you have successfully exported that to your project. Great. Now I want to go back to Noodletools, right? And I want to make sure that I have put that in the right spot. So how do I do that? I will hit this refresh button. It's going to think a little bit, and then it's going to show me if I have that in there. Now, media type, remember we said reference? It will change and it will know where that is. It will put the Silicon World of Science book in there, okay? You can actually click this and it'll take you back to what that is. So you could even double check to make sure it was properly cited. If that's the right one, then you are good to go. Okay, going back to resources again. So I showed you how to do a database. This is an ebook. Our ebooks work very similarly to the Noodletools with the databases for Gale because it is a Gale product. So again, you're going to see the same site button on the top. You can just click select again, and you can export it to Noodletools. Same way. Okay, so if it looks good, I wanted to go to Jessica Silicon product, I can import those references, right? I've imported them. I can go back and double check that everything looks good. I can do that, refresh again, and now there's two. Okay, so that's great. Now, what do I do if it is a website? A website is a little bit trickier because a website, you kind of have to go hunting. We call it hunting and fishing for those pieces, okay? So when you're, excuse me, at a website, that's a little bit different. So I just picked the first one here. I'm at Noodletools, and I say, I have to cite this source because I use this for my project. We cite sources because you have to give credit to the places where you receive information because it didn't come out of your head, it came out of somebody else's. So let's click new source. This time we got it from a website, okay? Is it a web page? Sometimes it could be a website, could be a book, could be an interview, but normally for our purposes, it's normally just a web page, and that's what it is in this case. These are all web pages. The first thing it's going to ask us for is the URL. The URL is at the top here, okay? All you need to do for the URL, right, this right here, is you simply just need to click it and then copy it. When you go back to Noodletools, you just need to paste it, okay? Date of publication. They want to know when this website was last published, okay? So usually you might find that at the top, but in this case not. So then it normally will be at the bottom, okay? This one, the last publication date was only a date, 2021, okay? So that's all we have to go on is 2021. So we are going to put in that date as 2021, and we will leave it at that. The most recent date of access usually is today, the day that you're using it. So you just click today and it'll put in today's date. That means that the most recent date that you've gone to that website for information. Contributors, you can click that. You'll get an author, an editor, or a translator. Sometimes there isn't a specific person that was involved in it. Sometimes there is. So we take a peek at it. That's usually also either at the very top or the very bottom. If you look here on the top, we do not see any specific persons or people listed, as well as on the bottom here, we do not see any person or people listed. You can hit About Us to see if there's any additional information about that, but we also do not see any additional persons or people listed. So we just go back to that main page. Okay, so we leave that blank. We leave that page blank, or that part of the blank for Noodletools. Okay, the web page or document article title is usually at the top. So we look to see what the title of this web page is. The title of this is Periodic Table. So sometimes you can copy these things, sometimes you cannot. Usually it's not that hard anyway. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm putting it in the wrong page. And I can't type today. So you just type that in, okay? Sometimes it's untitled. If it is, you just give it a check mark here, untitled, and you provide a little description instead. The name of the website, you go back. The name of the website itself is usually the first three, the first part before the .org, .com, .web, or if it's, or if you can't find the name. So in this case, this is the Royal Society of Chemistry. So that's what we're going to put. It is a requirement because you can see that there's a little red star there. You do have to use proper spelling and grammar on this, so you need to be careful. Except for when you're naming the title, it should be the same as the title that you saw properly. Include the source of my final works cited. You want to make sure that you've got that correct, and the publisher of the site. So the last thing that we need is the publisher. That's usually next to a little C that has a circle around it. It's a copyright symbol. So that is also the Royal Society of Chemistry. So you want to just get that in there as well. I actually am going to copy and paste because it's the same. And then after that's done, you just want to make sure you save. This is not a Google product. It does not save on its own magically. So you do need to hit the save button. After that, it'll percolate and think a little bit, and then you will see that next one there. So this one does make you hunt and peck a little bit to find it. But if you click View Live, it should take you right back to that same one. Okay? So if you have any Noodletools questions or don't exactly know what you're doing with Noodletools, or there's a specific question about a specific page or database, I am always here to help, as well as Mrs. Bennett. Please give us one of us an email, or we can always meet with you during a Get Set, and I will leave our emails in on your webpage. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.